Word of mouth marketing is the most important aspect, most important tool in any marketing strategy. And it doesn't matter if you're breeding ball pythons, like this boy right here, this is Aries, he is our visual sunset male. Whether you are breeding ball pythons, whether you are in real estate trying to sell homes, whether you are in any field that has to deal with marketing, if you can consistently and reliably generate word of mouth marketing through the advocacy stage of the consumer marketing funnel, your business will excel, period. The advocacy stage is the last of the 4 stages of the consumer marketing funnel. And the consumer marketing funnel, quick overview, is just a general guideline on the process that consumers make when they interact with a business. They start with brand awareness, being aware of the products, services, or the business itself. It moves into engagement, where you build trust and rapport with the consumer. There is conversion. This is actually like making sales and closing deals. And then lastly, there is advocacy. And advocacy is all about finding ways to generate the word of mouth marketing that you hear so much in marketing and business and stuff like that. And there are very specific strategies that you can do in the advocacy stage, as well as doing a good job in all of the other stages are only going to help you out because it improves the customer experience. So when we are talking about the advocacy stage, the action that we ultimately want people to take during this stage is to recommend our business. So when it comes to ball pythons, we're Leviathan Snakes, and we're really into sunset and freeway and clown and stuff like that. So our specific goal for the advocacy stage is if somebody expresses interest in sunset or freeway or clown or something like that, just something that they know that we do, our current customers, our current consumers who have converted and shown that they like us and they've engaged with us, that they will be the ones who recommend us to anybody else who happens to say to our customers that they're looking at getting into sunset or freeway or, again, whatever product, service, or just project that you specialize in. And I think that this specialization is really, really key, not only to the advocacy stage, but to every other stage of the consumer marketing funnel. It is really, really hard to be good at everything. And even if you are good at everything, it makes it really hard for people to describe and recommend your business, your ball python breeding projects to somebody if you are into so many different projects, nobody can actually pinpoint what it is that you do. So if you are really, really into pied, but you also have Exanthic, somebody might be willing, one of your current customers, might be willing to recommend you to somebody who's wanting to get into the pied game, but because they don't think of Exanthic when they think of your business, they may not recommend you if they hear that somebody's wanting to get into Exanthic, even though you might have the perfect animals for them. So I think that this is one of the things that you want to be really, really conscious of what projects are you promoting and what can you do that can best serve potential customers. Again, we talk about this in the awareness phase, we talk about this in the other videos, but it's really, really important to make sure that your brand positioning is really clear in the advocacy stage as well, because you have to trust your customers, the people who have already converted, to know what your projects are, know what your business is about, and recommend it to other people, even though they don't know your business as well as you do. I want to talk about ways that why somebody might recommend you. And generally, it has to deal with an exceptional experience. The consumer interacts with your business, and at any level, doesn't matter what the business is, you are providing a product or service, in this case a ball python. You are providing an animal in exchange for money. It is financial compensation, it's a transaction, and once that transaction's done, for the most part, the business relationship could end. But if you want to be able to make really, really strong advocates for your brand, you cannot let it end once the money has been exchanged. Instead, if you are able to build up a relationship with the people who have already shown that they trust you so much that they were willing to give you money for an animal that maybe you had to ship, which is a weird experience and shows a lot of trust in the seller, the consumer has for the seller. If you are able to continue building up that relationship, not only may you get potential sales in the future, you can also help build advocates for your brand. And things that you can do to help establish this connection is just periodically touch back with the consumer, especially if it's an animal, and just ask how they're doing. Maybe if you see them post a picture of an animal you produced, commenting on that picture about how they look amazing, maybe talking about how you're regretting letting them go or anything like this. This is going to be really, really good things because it shows that you remember the customer. You take personal interest in the customer because they bought an animal from you. And it shows that they are more than just somebody who exchanged money. They are somebody who has an animal that was produced by your business. And recognizing that and maintaining that relationship is going to be really, really important to making sure that they remember your business. If they have a friend or a family member or anybody, a colleague, who says that they want to get into ball pythons as well. One tactic that I really, really like, I think it's super cool and it's really, really easy to do and it doesn't really cost any money at all. And it's a handwritten, personalized note that is unexpected. That's really important. The unexpected part is what's going to make you stand out from everybody else. So if you make a sale, let's say that we sold one of Aries' babies this upcoming year, a Het Sunset, and we sell it to somebody and we get their address, we talk to them, we build up a little bit of a relationship during the conversion phase of the consumer marketing funnel. Now, a couple weeks after the sale, maybe 3 or 4 weeks after we've already sent the snake to them, everything's good, we decide that we wanted to check in. We could send a DM on Instagram, and honestly, it would probably be way faster and get a quicker response. But that doesn't necessarily seem special. It won't make us stand out as much from other potential breeders. Instead, what we could do is we can write a handwritten note to them and use the address that we had gotten, or maybe we could ask them for the address if they had given us like a FedEx hub, and we can send them a letter. And in the letter could be the exact same as like a follow-up message on Instagram where it's just like, hey, wanted to thank you again for your business. You are amazing. You are the type of person that we want to do business with in the future. And we wanted to follow up on the snake that we sold you. She's looking absolutely beautiful in your pictures and we can't wait to see what you do with her. There's nothing necessarily like crazy or groundbreaking to it, but if you write that handwritten note and you mail it to them and they get the letter unexpectedly, it is going to make you stand out way more than any other breeder because one, you are following up after the sale and making sure everything's okay. In addition, you're doing it in an avenue and a medium that they're not used to because most people don't get handwritten letters anymore. They might get like stickers or they might get bills, but just correspondence, like a pin pal, just doesn't happen that much in 2022. So something that I think is really, really easy, or this is something that I think is really, really easy and can make a really, really big impact. So if that person gets this letter and they have a friend who ends up saying like, oh man, I saw that you're in the Sunset Project now, who'd you get it from? And they say, oh, we got our Het Sunset from Leviathan Snakes, and they are absolutely amazing. They gave us all this information on her. It was an amazing process, and like 3 weeks after we got her, they sent us this handwritten letter following up. It's just something to make yourself stand out and provide that good customer service that everybody always talks about, but they don't necessarily talk about how to do it. The more personal that you can make the correspondence, the more powerful of a connection it's going to build. So if you just simply have a like pre-written letter that you print off and you sign your name at the bottom, that might be kind of nice, but nobody's going to really think anything of it. It's like, oh, I really appreciate you doing business. You are amazing, and we really appreciate all of our customers. Signed, Steven from Leviathan Snakes. It's so generic that you don't really get the value. You're almost missing out on an opportunity there because it's so generic. And this is why I think that handwritten is really good. I think personalizing the letter to the individual customer is really, really important. And it's a benefit that small breeders can have. It's a competitive advantage that small breeders can have because you don't have thousands of customers a year that you have to keep track of. You might have maybe 50 a year that you have to keep track of, and that's way more doable than writing a handwritten letter that's personalized to every single person if you are having thousands of hatchlings a year to keep track of and who all got what and keeping track of them on social media, things like that. Another strategy that you can use to help generate advocates for your brand is to publicly recognize the people who have converted and find ways to make them feel special. And this is easily done through like merchandise. So like if somebody buys a snake from you and you throw in a free t-shirt, again, the more unexpected that this is, the more powerful it's going to be. So you could always like throw in a t-shirt in the box that you're shipping out the snake and it probably would save on postage. But just like the handwritten note, If instead, every now and then, let's say maybe every spring or summer or at a certain time, you have a drive where it's like, anybody who has bought a snake from us in this last year, you send us a DM, we will send you a free t-shirt now. It is going to, instead of it being focused on one interaction where it's like, oh, I bought a snake and then they threw in a free t-shirt, it is making it 2 interactions where they bought a snake, they get the snake, they really enjoyed that. Later on, they see that they could get a free t-shirt and then they get a free t-shirt, and it's doubling the amount of touch points that you have with the customer, but it's still making them feel special. In addition to like merchandise and making them feel special, if you have a community, let's say that you have a YouTube channel or an Instagram or Facebook does this as well, and you find ways to make the people who support you the most stand out and raise their status within the community. Facebook does this by enabling like top fan badges for the people who interact with your Facebook business page the most. But finding ways to do this, like having people be moderators of a YouTube channel or Discord or anything like that, is really, really cool ways to make your most loyal consumers advocates for your brand. So again, when somebody comes up and they're like, hey, I'm thinking of getting into Sunset, there might be people who are advocates for our brand who have already done business with us and would be more than willing, not even just willing to do us a favor, but they know that if they recommend us to somebody else, that their friend that's looking for an animal is going to have a good experience. Another thing to hit on generating advocates is collaboration. So this one doesn't actually deal with current customers, though somebody may buy an animal from each other in these situations. But collaboration is a really good way to generate advocates for your brand. So in the ball python community, it's pretty common to do joint lives, whether it's on Instagram, on YouTube, anything like this. And these are amazing because they're a way to collaborate together as colleagues. And you can get really, really good engagement, learn about the other person really, really well. So whether it's like Brian from Samson Snakeatorium or Adam from Proper Royals, these are amazing people that we've collaborated with in the past. And if somebody came to us looking for an animal that we knew that one of these guys had, we would be more than down. We would definitely be like, you definitely need to check out Adam. He has exactly what you're looking for. That kind of thing. And it's not necessarily that we've bought animals from them in the past, but it's that we've worked with them. And because we've worked with them and we like them, it establishes that connection where we are more than confident to recommend them to somebody else. So when you are looking to build advocates, not all advocates have to be people that have bought from you already. It can be other colleagues. And this is, again, really, really important to know exactly what projects you are working on as well as your colleagues are working on, because it's way easier to recommend somebody, like if somebody came to us right now looking for Sunset, we would recommend probably Brad Boa and Brock Wagner because they're amazing and they've done us so well that we are confident that if anybody interacted with them, that they would take care of them as well. Not all advocates are people who have bought from you. They can also be other centers of influence, whether they're colleagues in an industry, maybe a school teacher, or a local pet store, or anything like this. They can all generate word of mouth marketing as long as you are able to collaborate with them in productive, meaningful ways that are mutually beneficial to both parties. On top of the entire consumer experience, price is actually really, really important in generating an advocate. So a lot of times, advocates are promoting a brand, not because they're receiving any type of financial compensation. They're genuinely doing it because they love that brand. They feel that that brand took care of them so well that they want to help pay it forward. And I think that price is really, really key here. If you have an animal, let's say that Aries let's say that this year he produces a visual sunset male that we want to sell. And we list him on what market? Let's say at that time, the going rate, 100% retail value of a sunset male is $6,500, and we list him for $6,500 as a firm price. This hatchling sunset male that doesn't exist yet, but hopefully we'll hit some later on. And somebody who's been supporting us for a long time reaches out to us and they're like, hey, I saw that you had that sunset male available. Would you be willing to take $5,000 or $5,500 for it? And we were like, no, it's a firm price. And it's like, if you don't want him, that's fine, somebody else will buy him. That kind of leaves a bad taste in the person who's been supporting the business for a while. And it's really, really unlikely that they would recommend us to somebody else, because if we're not even willing to work with the people who support us and help cut them a deal, that can actually turn them off from recommending us to anybody else. So I don't think that you need to price your animals at the bottom barrel. In fact, I actually don't think you should price your animals at the bottom barrel. But being open to negotiation and being willing to cut a deal to people, especially the people who've supported you for a long time before you had an animal, I think that that is key in generating advocates. Because not only is it a great customer experience, that person will know that they 100% got a better deal than they could have ever gotten somewhere else. And therefore, they will be way more likely to recommend you to somebody else if a need ever arises. So I think that price, and specifically the ability to negotiate and come down on price, is super, super important in generating advocates. There is so much stuff when it comes to marketing, whether it is the awareness phase, the engagement phase, conversion, advocacy. There are specific tips on photography and videography, and there's so much stuff in the marketing field that it is literally impossible to become a master of all of it. I genuinely believe that if any ball python breeder watches like this series of videos and they actually follow them, they actually develop a strategy that generates awareness, builds engagement with potential customers, that they convert people effectively, and they are willing to recognize the people who have actually supported them and made their business a reality and turned them into advocates, that they will do amazing. I don't think that you have to be breeding ball pythons for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years in order to excel. In fact, I think that the people who start and they only have 1, 2, 3, or 5 years of experience, and they start doing these things that we've talked about in the entire consumer marketing series, they will see an immediate, amazing result, and people will start talking about them. And in maybe 2 years, 3 years, 10 years from now, when a bunch of people have come into the hobby and left because they couldn't sell their animals, those people, the people who actually follow all of the different steps and pay attention to their marketing strategy, rather than only producing snakes and saying that the snakes sell themselves, they will be the people who stay in the business, and that they will be the people making world's first and making amazing snakes and living a life that most people would think is crazy, thinking that you can make a living selling snakes like these guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe. Again, this is not the last marketing video we're ever going to do, but it is the last in the consumer marketing funnel series, and we hope you enjoyed it.